Okay, we are now being live streamed on Labor Front. My name is Glenn Coggy. I am the host of Labor Front. We're going to have a table talk conversation with John Guinan. John Guinan is a candidate for International President of the United Auto Workers, and we look forward to hearing him have a conversation about past contracts and compare them to new. And he's going to cover some ground for the delegates. It's going to be interesting, so tune in. And everybody, we're going to get going right now. John Guinan. How you doing, John?
Fine, fine. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. We hope that we got delegates tuning in. I got a lot to say to the delegates. And first of all, I'd like to walk you through something that I've been receiving a number of phone calls on. And I think it needs to have a response. And what it is, it's about the 2019 agreement that was negotiated in GM was the target for that negotiations, and they set the pattern for that negotiations. A number of people have made statements that the 2019 agreement was the most lucrative agreement there was in regards to wages for our membership. And we challenged them with the 1999 agreement that I was the top negotiator and the acting vice president on. And it seemed like some people got a little insulted about it, but I got a little insulted about them by saying what they said about the 99 agreement. So what I want to kind of do is just walk you through this. I won't take much time, but I want to kind of prove a point to you about negotiating a contract. In 1999, the Chrysler agreement negotiated 4 GWIs, general wage increases. The first time that has ever been done in the history of the UAW. General Motors in 2019 negotiated 2 general wage increases. So naturally somebody said, well, yeah, John, but we got $11,000 signing bonus, and then we're receiving an additional 4%. And I said, I totally agree with you. That's exactly what you did. So as you go through the agreement, so you understand, the very first year of General Motors, that agreement extracted $13,800 in the first year. And that was counting $11,000 signing bonus and a $4,000 bonus on top of that. The first year in the Chrysler agreement in 1999, we extracted a 3% raise of 90 cents a year. And that was 60 cents. 60 cents of it was the GWI and 30 cents was COLA. We had COLA at that time. So that 90 cents multiplied by 2,250 hours, and that's the average hours that plants work. Ours come out with a $1,350 signing bonus the first year was $3,375. So in the first year we got $3,375, and the GM workers got in their contract $13,800. The second year of the agreement, GM got a general wage increase of 3%. And again, we did $2,250, and it come out as $2,047. So we added the $1,380 from the first year of that, and they come out with $15,841 the first 2 years of the agreement. Now we go over to the Chrysler side. The Chrysler negotiated again a GWI in COLA. We had COLA at that time. So the 90 cents that we had the first year turned into $2.02 with the additional cost of COLA and a GWI. So we multiplied $2.02 for 2,250 hours, and that contract come out to, or that year it come out to $4,545. So now we added the 3,375 and a 4,045. So we now have in our first 2 years $7,920 in the 1990 agreement. And in the 2019 agreement, the GM agreement, they have $15,841. Now we go to the third year of the agreement. GM took a 4% performance bonus, and that was $2,180. So that brought their total up to $18,021 for 3 years. We now went to another GWI, which drove our GDIs up to now, it was an additional $1.16. So at this point, we were at 318 times 2250, which come out to $7,155. So we added our 7920 and our 7,155. So our total come out to $15,015 after 3 years. We were still behind GM by $3,000. The last year of the agreement, GM did another GWI, and this one was for 94 cents. So you take the 91 that they got in the second year, you add that to the 95. So the last year of the contract, the increase was going to be $1.85 for 2,250 hours. And when they did that, that came out to $4,162. And they had $18,210 over 3 years. So when they got done with that contract, they extracted $22,375 in a 4-year contract in 2019, which set the pattern for the UAW workers, for Chrysler and Ford. We went to the 4th year and took another GWI. And this is our 4th GWI now. That brought our wages up to $4.38. $4.38 through 4 GWIs and COLA. We multiplied that by 2250, which is the average working. That come to $9,855. Exactly $145 short of $10,000. And that was added in the 4th year agreement in the 1990 agreement, which comes to a grand total of $24,930. And the grand total for GM was $22,375. So I'm not criticizing, I'm just making a point. Now, as most of our members know, maybe some don't, GWI goes on your base rate. And when it goes on your base rate, your S&A benefits go up, your life insurance goes up, and a number of other things. Now, that last year, the $9,855 that we extracted from the company in the last year's agreement versus GM's $4,162 due to $1.85 versus $4.38. The difference between them two in the last year of the agreement was $5,693. Now, here is what the key to it is. That $9,855 never leaves. That goes every year afterwards, that increase. The increase that they got of $4,162, that goes on too, but not to the magnitude of $5,693. So if you had 10 years in the plant today, when you got to 20 years, that would be a 10-year increase on $5,693, which would be $56,930. And if it was a 20-year person that worked before he retired, That would be $113,860. So what I'm trying to say, I didn't get into this argument, they brought it to me, that performance bonuses does not do a lot for a worker. It doesn't increase his base rate. It doesn't increase his S&A benefits. It doesn't increase his life insurance. It goes away once you get it. It doesn't follow up the next year and add on. It's gone. So the key to negotiations is, and I'll use it, in 1999, when we went into the crash agreement in 1999, no time did the UAW ever negotiate for GWIs. That was the first contract that ever had them. And what I was trying to explain to them, that I'm not being critical of what you negotiated in 2019. That's not the purpose of this. But now now that you got me into this argument and you wanted to make an argument of it, let me tell you what you didn't have that we did have in 1999. We had COLA. You didn't have it in 2019. You didn't have pensions for everybody in 2019. You didn't have insurance for everybody in 2019. We did. We didn't have tier wages in 1999 because we wouldn't accept it when it comes to the table. We had over premium paid after 8 hours in 1999. You do not have it in 2019. You did not negotiate 1 penny for future retirees or for current retirees. We did in 1999. Matter of fact, for retirees, future retirees, in 1996, that agreement negotiated $265 for future retirees. In 1999, we negotiated $435 for future retirees, which was a grand total of $700 increase in pensions, which was $8,400 a year. And if you were retired 10 years before you got to Social Security, you made $84,000 more in your pension. They negotiated nothing. And we have not negotiated nothing for 11 years for future retirees or current retirees. For current retirees, what we did was we used the inflationary rate starting at $855 all the way through $1,245 per year, depending on what the inflation rate was. And we added a Christmas bonus in. So we probably averaged out $1,500 a year for our retirees. You did nothing in 2019 for retirees that were retired, nothing at all, or for future. So the only thing I'm trying to say to you, I'm not trying to get in a debate with anybody about contracts, but all I'm saying to you is don't try to make your contract more than what it is. I'm only saying that we got an 80%, 86% ratification on our contract. We didn't go on strike. That contract did not call for a strike. The most lucrative contract that's probably been negotiated in UAW did not call for a strike. So I want to say to people, if you negotiate a contract and it was good, I have no problem. And I applaud you for doing it. But don't try to take a contract that I was a big part of negotiating and try to say that you did something better than we did. Just tell the truth to the membership. That's all I'm asking. No more, no less. So when we get to the questions, if there's any questions that need to be asked on this, I'll answer them. Now, my second subject I want to talk about is I want to talk about the candidates that are running for office. And we got 6 of them as of right now. God knows how many we might have before the convention. And I don't know really what to tell you about whether or not I'll have a right to run, or another candidate by Jim Coakley, whether he'll have a right to run. We hear one story over here, we hear another story over here. But let me just say something about your other candidates. I'll start with Brian Keller. Brian Keller has probably got 20-something years with Chrysler, I'm assuming. I don't know for sure. I don't pay much attention to him. I know he likes to run his mouth. I know he wants to talk about all the jobs that were lost in the UAW since 1970 something, and I'm not disagreeing with that. What he says is all true. People that have never had the privilege or the honor to represent people to enhance their quality of life or to hopefully negotiate pensions for retirees or future retirees. These people have never done anything for a membership. Nothing except run their mouth and criticize. Don't get me wrong, the UAW, I have more than enough room to criticize the UAW for what's happening in the last 13 years. I'm adamantly pissed off about what happened. But that's not going to change things. Bitching about what happened 13 years ago or 20 years ago. The only thing that's going to change this union is to get somebody at a bargaining table that not only knows how to do it, that has done it. So let me say to you, that's Brian Kelly. And I don't pay much attention to it. Now we have a new gentleman that got into the race, William Lehman, I believe his name is. I don't know much about him. He's a young man. He comes out of Mack Truck, Macungie, Local 677, which I know quite well. I did the Mack Truck agreement in year 2001, the year that the World Trade Center got attacked. We were in negotiations. And here's what William Lehman says that he wants done. He says, I want massive wage increases. And then he goes on to say, I want COLA adjustment soaring with inflation. I want to eliminate all tiers, he said. And I want to work for retirees. And I want to stop a concessionary contract. Well, William, you should be voting for me. And I'll tell you why. The 99 agreement that I negotiated with President Steve Yokish got every damn thing you're asking for right now. We got massive wage increases. We had COLA. We had increases for retirees, and we had no concessions. And we had a defined pension for everybody and insurance. So you should cast your vote for me because I have met them qualifiers already. You have met none of them. I don't even know if you've been elected into plant. But I say this, and I say it sincerely. It's time to get rid of the bullshit. This is getting too serious. We got a union that's got 15 million people on strike. We haven't come to a conclusion on how to settle. Now let's go to my next candidate. His name is Sean Fain. And he comes out of the Chrysler department. Now, Sean, when he introduced himself for running for candidate, I listened to him. He talked about having a check stub in his pocket, and he pulled it out, and he says it's from, and I might be wrong in saying this, his grandfather, I believe, or his father, I'm not sure. And he says, I carry it with me all the time. And then he made some statement about, he quoted John F. Kennedy. And I guess that was supposed to turn everybody on. Me being Catholic, you don't have to tell me about John F. Kennedy. I pretty much know a lot about him. Sean, I can tell you this. Take that to the bargaining table and see what it gets you. Just throw that at the company and tell them about your grandfather and you got his check stubs about Johnny. They don't give a shit about that. And who should? We're about the membership. And then he said he didn't know how Jerry Jones had the audacity to run for president when he was stealing from the membership. You know, I totally agree with that. I don't know how he had the audacity to do that too when he was stealing. But through all that you said, you forgot to mention one guy that you were hooked at the hip with, and that was General Holyfield. General Holyfield put you on staff. He made you an AD or AA or whatever your position is now. So don't give me this bullshit you didn't know about corruption going on in the UAW. Don't tell me you didn't know about going to Palm Springs for 10 years, everybody, for 8 weeks, and playing golf and having parties and New Year's Eve parties and all that other shit. Everybody knew it in the Solidarity House. So don't say all of a sudden, I didn't know anything about it. Us reps, we didn't know anything about it. And then you made the statement about, I was involved in the 2009 negotiations, the concessionary negotiation, Sean, the one that William Lehman's bitching about. And then you said, oh, they just come in and handed that to Ron Getterfinger, and we didn't really have a choice. It was just all do or die. Let me tell you something, Sean. If a company would have handed me that, I'd have wrapped it up and probably shoved it down their throat. You got to understand about when you negotiate for members. They don't tell you what you're going to do. You tell them what you're going to do because you got a membership behind you. Sitting at a table and they threw something at me and we didn't have no choice. You don't think a piece of paper's ever been thrown at John Guinan in 11 national negotiations and say, take it or leave it? That's not uncommon, Sean. That's not uncommon at all. You spent 11 years at the training center or whatever you do over at the training center, I don't know. If you were a guy, and for people that don't know about the International Union, I can tell you something. What they try to do, and I know you might not believe this, but this is what they try to do. They try to pick the best players they got to be servicing reps. Now, it doesn't say it always works out now, so don't accuse me of saying it does. But that's what they try to do. They're trying to look for reps that can negotiate local agreements. They're looking for reps that can handle themselves well in negotiations, national negotiations. And they're looking at reps that can handle grievances and service their locals. And Tony Candela, who's on my team, is a perfect example of one. And he did it well. And I apparently did it well too. So these individuals that are running and complaining and bitching, my question is, what have you done since you've been there? Like I say, now Jim Coakley, I'll say it, and I'll say it as truthfully as I can. I know Jim Coakley quite well. Jim Coakley did the General Dynamics negotiations and did a fine job with it. Jim Coakley was an arbitrator in the Chrysler department, and he did a very good job as the arbitrator. Now, he did get caught up in a tough fight in 2007 when I said that is when the concession started. I didn't say he was in favor of it. I just said he was in that negotiation. So I don't have a lot to say about Jim Coakley. He knows how to negotiate. He knows how to handle himself. And he ain't running around complaining about everything either. And the last but not least is Ray Curry. Ray Curry, I met Ray Curry in 2000. I'm sorry. Nate Gooden took over as the vice president of the Chrysler department after an untimely and unfortunate death of Vice President Jack Laskowski, who was a great vice president. And I had the honor to work for him, and it was truly an honor. Now, when Nate took over, nothing worked for me. We were totally at odds on everything. The agenda that we've been working for 5 years to stop Chrysler from sourcing and outsourcing was going out the window. So I knew it wasn't going to work, and I was the top A, so I said, I don't need to be your top A, get you a new one, and he did. And I was going to leave. And then President Jokic asked me to come down and talk to him, and I did. And I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Things ain't going well, are they?" I said, "That man's on a total different agenda than I'm on, and I will not be able to work with him." So he said, "Would you stay and do me 4 contracts till the convention?" And I like negotiating. So I said, "Well, what are they? I don't even know who they are." And he told me Freightliner, Mack truck, and for William again, while you were probably still in, I don't know, grade school, maybe, I don't know. I was doing contracts at the local union you're running for right now and got an 86% ratification. And we had 40 people on the bargaining committee, and not one rejected anything that we negotiated. So William, you need to check that out if you want to check some history out. Carl Berlinger was the president of 677, and he was the chairman of the truck council. And he did an outstanding job in that negotiation. So he asked me to do Freightliner, and he asked me to do Mack, and he asked me to do NUMMI in Fremont, California, and he asked me to do the Mitsubishi contract in Bloomington, Illinois. So I told him, "Yeah, I'll do them, Steve. I like doing them." Now, I didn't know anybody. This is a whole new group of people. Unfortunately for me, we got along unbelievably well. We did a Freightliner agreement. We got a 97.5 ratification. We did Mack truck. We did an 86% ratification. No concessions. As I repeat, no concessions. We went to NUMMI, California, and did theirs, and then we went to Bloomington, Illinois, and did the Mitsubishi contract, 2488, and an 83 at NUMMI and an 83 at Mitsubishi. So after I did them contracts, the convention come up, and I retired. And I think it was not that I wanted to retire. I did plan to work till I was going to be 65, but things were changing, and they were changing fast. And I did not want to be a part of it. Now, in saying all that, I want to say something to the delegates now. You and the membership too. You can do one or two things. And I told my team this. We've been doing this since October. And we've been working very hard. Glenn gives us the privilege to be on his labor front, where hopefully we can communicate. John Wires, who works on our team, does a lot of our social media and does an outstanding job. Tony Kendall's we're like brothers from another mother. JD, who is the chairman of 685, has been as loyal to our team as anybody, and he knows Tony and he knows me. You don't get people like JD to support you unless you know how to do your job. So make sure you understand that about him. He is the chairman out of the largest local in the Chrysler structure. Now, members and delegates, you got a choice to make. You can go ahead and bitch and complain and talk about how bad things are, and then go to the convention and let the International Union bully and not voting for retires to run for office. And if you do that, then we're out of here. We're going. All we can say is we tried, but you can't blame anybody but yourself. In 2023, I don't even want to hear somebody say this agreement ain't worth shit. There's no better than this or this or this. You are the controlling factor of who runs this union, not the International Union of today. You are. You go to the convention floor and you make the decisions. There's nobody more powerful than delegates at the convention. Now, you can fold up like a cheap suit and get threatened by the International Union and vote us out from running. And if you do, I'm sure Jim Coca and myself will walk out the door and say goodbye. Our hearts with the UAW. We thought we could make it better for the membership, but apparently the membership failed us. And presidents are the top 4 officers. If you think being threatened that you're not going to get in the Solidarity House if you go the other way, then I got to say something to you. You're not doing what your membership asked you to do. The loyalties you have to your membership is the number one priority, not the International Union. When I was chairman in my plant, the International Union wasn't my priority. The priority was our membership. Tony Candela, president of his local union. Clint Gogny was the president of his local union. Your obligations or responsibility are to the membership, not to somebody going around saying, sign this card and give me $50. If you don't, I'm going to call somebody and see if I can't do something. If you want to go to a solidarity house and become a rep under that type of administration, then I don't know if you really believe in your membership. And I'm serious about it. And I'll say this to the appointed reps, the same thing, especially benefit reps. You turn your back on these retirees. You turn your back on these retirees after we negotiated extra benefit reps only because of one reason, because of the retirees. I had an opportunity to negotiate 4 or 6 extra benefit reps and contracts. And it wasn't for the active workforce. In assembly plants, they don't grow much more. But when you start retiring people and you keep accumulating larger volumes, you need more benefit reps. It was for the retirees. And if you turn your back on them, I hope you can go to the next retiree chapter meeting and look them in the face. When one of them asks you, how did you vote at the convention for a retiree running? Don't be bashful, tell them the truth and see what they think of you. You got a job no different than I had a job when I got elected as a chief steward. To represent your membership is the first priority. Now, I don't know where this thing's going to end up at. It might very well end up where we get the right to run, and we're hoping, like Kel, we've worked awful hard. We'd love to have a shot at it. But remember one thing. These other candidates that are whining and promising you the world, and we're going to do all this stuff. I got to ask the question, what have they done up to today? Nothing. The 1M, 1V empowered you to the extent that we've never seen in the history of this union. The membership never really had what you call a serious role of electing the board till 1M, 1V come in place. Now I'm going to give you an opinion about 1M, 1V. It's got its good points by empowering the membership, but it can be dangerous too. And what I mean by this is this. You elect somebody that don't know how to negotiate. You elect somebody that's never been in this procedure. You elect somebody that know shit from Shinola about negotiating and never been elected and never represented a person. It could be devastating. And I mean devastating. You think we've been in trouble the last 13 years, you might not totally believe it. These companies have made a pact. We got the UAW down, and we're going to just keep kicking them and kicking them and kicking them. And I'm here to say to you, and I'll close by saying this. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for your membership. Be a player of integrity. Be a player of credibility. And with that, Glenn, let's open it up and see if we can get some questions.
Okay, John, we do have some questions, but before we start on them, thank you for filling everybody in on how the system works, what you know about these candidates. It's important everybody makes an educated vote when they go to these conventions and when we go to vote. So with that said, we thank you. Now we're going to get to our first question. It's from UAW brother Myron Beck. Myron's question is, what will you do to make sure minorities are fairly put in trades, since some of us are overlooked, like myself?
Well, we had the same problem, I think, one time out of my local union. We had very few minorities in the trades. At this time, me being the chairman and the president, we met with the company and we addressed that issue. And we told them that we can't live in the world that we're living in. I mean, we had very few. So what we did was we notified, they wanted to do some testings and some other things. And we did it with the minorities. And we had a fairly good group that qualified. So we lifted it up at that particular time and start bringing, I guess, double, triple what we brought in before, even more. And they turned out to be as good as tradesmen as anybody. I think the question is, in being a president, Tony knows a lot about it. The employment office has certain criteria they got to live up to in regards to employment levels. I don't know if that's feasible in the trades. They might say you have to bring a certain amount of minorities into a plant, but I don't know if it goes beyond just bring them in a plant. I don't know if it goes to skilled trades. And that's something that we probably need to take a look at. And if we don't get the government to do it, then we can have some serious conversations with the company and the corporation on what we feel you are not doing versus what you should be doing. So that would be an issue that myself as a president would have to call in the corporations and bring in the skilled trades department, the other people, and get a head count first of exactly what kind of percentage we have. And if it's not what it's supposed to do, then we need to sit down and tell the company that you've got needs to meet and we expect you to meet them. If they don't, I know how I can get that done.
All right, that's good. Yeah, we do need to build our trades. I think the average retirement age is like 70% of the members that are in trades could retire at any given time. So they do need to get that straightened out. We do have another question. John, do you feel that there will be a resolution passed to allow retirees to run for the International Executive Board?
Well, I wish I could answer that. I'd love to say yes. But I have this thing about me. I don't try to predict things when I don't know for sure. We're hoping like hell. Giving an example, some very locals that we're very close with, and we have the chairman here with us, J.D. Kauser. He knows his local as good as anybody, and I think they got a total of 11, but I think only 8 will be able to vote. We feel that we got them in our corner to let retirees vote. I have talked to other local unions. We have been told this, but I don't know if we're being misled, that all the resolutions that went in front of the membership for retirees to run for the IAB position passed. We did meet with UAWD, and there was one individual named Nathan, I think, told us that they did have one local union that rejected it, but we haven't heard any massive rejections, but we heard massive approvals. And so we think, or we hope, that we're in good shape, but you got to remember who's working on them. The board is working on them big time. We know out of the crash department, for example, they're making phone calls left and right to them, threatening with president, you'll never be on staff. We won't bring no work to your plant, all that bullshit stuff. And if that's the way our union's being run, that's shameful. The membership said they wanted to have the power to elect. And I have to say this to them through the delegates. Delegates, listen to what your membership said to you and don't betray them when you get to the convention.
It sounds good. I do have a message that was sent or posted on our page on Labor Front from someone watching the video. And he says, I could never vote against retirees running for office. Never have I voted in an election where I could run. He says, I am delegate and will vote for retirees to run for office. It's a no-brainer. That's from Delegate Jimmy Hyde.
Well, first of all, I'll just say to Jimmy, I appreciate it. You sound like a person that believes, uh, and if I wasn't running myself, if I wasn't, I still would support the fact that retirees have a right to run. Going back a little bit, I don't want to get into it deep. To make this thing work, the 1M, 1B, and not get it discredited. This is the key to it. You adopted something and you want to have integrity in what you adopted. And what you adopted is let the membership vote for the IAB board position. You can destroy it as well as you can make it great. And what I mean by that is this. When you got a candidate that you know can negotiate, and when you got a candidate that's proven he can negotiate, then jump on his bandwagon, give him a shot. You can go on my webpage, and I want to say this to all of you. It's Guinan, the numeral 4, UAW.com. There's 12 contracts on that webpage. You can punch any one of them up, and they'll describe exactly what the ratification votes were of them contracts. And the thing I'm saying is, look at who's running. Don't look at all the bullshit about, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. You know what? You hear that all the time. What have you done before you decided to run for president of the UAW? What have you done? You know what the answer is? Zero. It's zero is what it is. And you think I'm going to ruin my future of retirees, or current retirees, or the tier workers that we're going to try to fix, or the pensions, or insurance, or COLA on them people? All I got to do is tell you, wake up. It's not going to happen.
All right. John, we have another question. What about the independent part plants or part suppliers, the agricultural and implement workers, and the academic? I mean, the UAW covers a wide spectrum. It's not just the big three, not just auto manufacturing. What are your thoughts on how they will be represented under Guinan administration?
Well, I'm going to say something, and I don't know if anybody else is going to like what I got to say in the Solidarity House. The agricultural workers and the IPS, and whether it be Detroit Diesel, whether it be like the Volvo and the engine trucks, bus engine trucks, which I know fairly well, and your smaller plants. I gotta find out why we cannot extract a contract to meet the needs of these members in these plants. No different that we have to find out why we can't meet the needs of the big three, or aerospace, or casino workers, or the educational sector, or nurses, whatever we got. Do I have people who are qualified to do this? Let me say something about nepotism in the UAW. It's pathetic. It is absolutely pathetic. It was happening when I was there. Fortunately for me, I got to call who come on staff. And I didn't let a chairman or president, my selections were presidents and chairmen and people on the bargaining committee. You can't take somebody that's never represented anybody and expect them to know how to resolve their problems. In these smaller plants that you identify, they need help more than the big three. I mean, whether people realize it or not, they do. I had an opportunity to do a few small plants, one in Cadillac, Michigan, Pittsburgh glass plant, a small plant. And I know what their pain is. Does the contract in the smaller ones, are they as important as the big ones? Absolutely. Absolutely they are. The wealth might not be there as much as the big three, and you got to be honest about that, but they're just as important. But in order to make this work, and I know these guys that are on my team been listening to me say this, do we have qualified people in the Solidarity House that know how to negotiate contracts? That's the question you got to ask yourself. I don't want to get on this bashing and trashing kick. I don't like doing that. But you hear what some of the local unions are saying about what's happening when the International Union comes in. I'll give you an example. And I don't know, you got me cranked up on this question now. I got a Solidarity magazine. I think it was the last one I got, if I'm not mistaken. And it had on the last page of the Solidarity magazine, that had an article by John Deere. And what it said was this, and I think the Region 4 director, Ron McElroy, was the one that, I think, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think that's who it was. He wrote an article and said, well, the first time we took it to membership, they rejected us by 90%. The second time we took it to membership, they rejected it by 55%. And finally, we got to that membership and found out what their real problems and concerns were. And by God, we got it passed by 54%. Did you hear what I just said? You mean you're telling me that you went into a set of negotiations and you didn't know what the membership wanted? And you didn't know what they wanted the second time? And finally, we got serious about it and we found out what they wanted and we just overwhelmed them with it, with a 54% after being on the street for, I don't know how long Deere was out, 7 weeks or whatever. No, you didn't overwhelm them and find out what they wanted. You browbeat them half to death where they had to come back in the goddamn plant. That's what happened. I went to Freightliner, did a contract, and met with the membership 7 times and went on strike or locked out. I knew what they wanted the very first day. The only thing I kept telling them is I can't get it. We're not going to get it until we walk on the street. And finally it caved after 4 days and they gave it to us. You cannot go into a big three. You can't go into a small IPS. You can't go anywhere unless you're looking them in the face and they're giving you these answers. See, I'm blessed in one way. The people that I have on my team, they're very good. Tony Candela. You go to a retirees meeting with Tony Candela like I do, hell, he think he walks on water between you and I. Because he cares about him. He still does things for him and he's just a retired, but it don't make no difference to him. Give you an example. He went to the last union meeting for the last retirees meeting. And he told them, John will have an opportunity if he gets a chance to run, to put an article in the Solidarity magazine. That's what the Monitor said we'd have right there. You know what half the retirees said? We don't get the Solidarity magazine. Tony said, what? He said, we don't get it. So guess who settled that problem? Tony Candela. Called up the International Union, called up the region. They sent in the forms. So he sent them all, he gave them all up to the retirees that are filling out and send them in, and now they start getting the magazine. And if they're doing it in our local union, they're doing it everywhere. They don't have no problem sending cap tickets to every retiree. But they have a problem sending the Solidarity magazine to them. I mean, ain't we missing something here about what we're about? So no, like I said, I'm just going to have to find a team, and we're going to work very hard at it. And we're going to, personally, me, I'm personally going to get involved in why we can't lift up the smaller plants similar to the bigger plants. Of course, we ain't got the bigger plants lifted up, but we're going to get more involved in that and find what that is. Let me just say this and I'll end it for the next question. You think I'm going to have a tough job if I win? And I've accepted that. You have no idea how much I'm going to ask of this membership. I'm going to ask this membership to do things that are going to be painful. And I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. Nobody else is going to tell you that as a candidate. I'm going to ask you to do things that you would not imagine. If we want to win, we got to win it together. And it's going to be painful on both sides. We will not let you down. We will bust our ass to make it right. And we have the hearts to do it. But we got to get a chance to get there. So that's why we're asking you to vote for us and give the retirees an opportunity to run.
Okay, John, thank you. John, we have another question from Facebook. Brother David Gosselin is asking if die makers who are currently laid off indefinitely will have a chance to come back.
Well, there's one thing I got to tell this brother. I have no idea how to answer that question if die makers are going to come back or not. Is he saying they're being eliminated, Glenn, or does he just say they're laid off?
He said that they are laid off indefinitely. He didn't say eliminated. So,
okay, well, indefinite. I mean, we know what the language says on indefinite. We all come out of the big three plant, if that's where he's from. Naturally, if they need him to bring him in, the question is, I can't answer for all the big three, just ones that I know a little bit about. The trades is becoming an issue. And what I mean by that is, it seems like there's a push to eliminate more trades out and to push more outside contractors in. And I'm not sure I'm absolutely correct on that, but I have talked to some tradesmen, and that's kind of the story I'm getting. And if that's true, we got language, and I know how to implement language on outside contracting because it's trackable. Then we really need to address his situation. I don't know if they're eliminating the class altogether or if they're just laying them off due to a reduction or whatever. I don't know how to answer that truthfully.
right. Well, John, as you know, I'm a tradesman and I can verify what you're saying to be 100% accurate. General Motors in Wentzville Assembly is in a constant push to cut trades. Although lately they've been hiring, but we've had a lot of people transition out with retirement and transfers. So as it stands right now, if they could eliminate trades and outsource, they absolutely would. The question that I would have about following up on Brother David Gosselin's question would be, if a guy's in trades and he's a die maker or any other tradesman, they have a good capability of learning other aspects of the different trades, and maybe the transition could save them personally by helping them transition into tool maker, electrician or whatever other trade. So,
yeah, unfortunately, I would have to know where it's at. I'd have to know the manpower. I'd have to know the reasons, and I don't know any of them as I speak right now.
okay. We have a member named Timothy that's actually on this Zoom call with us, and Timothy has a question for you. Timothy?
Two questions.
Two questions. All right, brother.
Okay. Number one is, what are we going to do about them trying to outsource all the batteries and stuff in the car plants? GM and Chrysler both trying to partner up with someone else. I believe it's in and run around the union. I'm sure you do too. How are we going to fight this? And second is, how are we going to get our housekeeping back under our own union? They shouldn't be making half the pay. They should be back to our union jobs. Company's not hurting anymore.
Well, first of all, let me ask the first one about the batteries, and then I'll ask the other one. as well as I know, that that is going to be a major issue in the car industry, especially in powertrain plants. Some people are preaching organizing. I tried to answer that question the last time I was on Labor Front. And what I told them is the UAW right now is in a tough position in regards to organizing. And you know geographically what this United States is about. You're not going to be organizing too many plants in Alabama and Tennessee. You know what I mean? Now, I believe that we have a right to all the jobs. That's my position. And as I said earlier in this conversation, the fights are going to get very ugly. And this membership is going to have to get very tough. I believe that the battery issue has to be settled at the bargaining table. I read the preamble a little bit different in the front of the contract than most people. It stipulates that if the product relates to building a car, truck, or whatever, that we should have certain priorities in making it an organized UAW plant. And this is definitely connected as a product to the car. So I'm willing to take that fight on to the full extent. And when I say that, it's time to muscle up a little bit in this union. You got to be smart enough to know where to attack, and you got to be smart enough to know when to attack. Don't run with your head half cocked thinking you know something. You got, these things are not easy. You have to plan these things. So my goal is to take it on at the bargaining table and push it all the way, whatever it takes.
Now,
Is my goal.
when you say bargaining table, you're talking about regular tier one wages, not a second wages, right? You're not talking. I think they're trying to run around the union, and the union's still going to unionize them like they did our housekeepers and make it a lower paying job. That's what I think our international's planning on doing. Not you, our international.
Well, there's no doubt what you're saying is true. You know as well as I do, they're not going to jump on the table with the big three wages. They're going to say no to that right away. Well, that's part of negotiations. They might say no to it, and we got a whole lot to say about it. And then we got to prove what we say can happen.
Right. I'm saying I think our union is going to try to settle for that, and I don't want that. That's why I'm asking you what you personally believe.
Well, if I'm the union, you ain't going to be settling for that. I'll just tell you that.
I believe you.
You won't be selling for that. And I don't make them statements unless I mean what I say. I'm not in the promised land. I don't promise a whole lot of shit. Tony and his team, we have talked about the batteries at least a dozen times more. This is going to be a huge industry. And it's only going to grow bigger and bigger. And we're not going to be cut out of the pie. We want our fair share. And I'll say to you that we're going to bust our ass to keep it. And if it's going to be nasty and ugly and mean, we're willing to take the fight on. Now, that second part of your question, I think you were talking to me about concessions. Am I correct in saying that?
We took housekeeping away and contracted it out.
Okay. You mean your janitors?
Yes, I think they should come back.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, let me say this to you. We're on the same agenda. The only question is, we have such a big agenda. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
It all can't come back, and not all of it. And I'm not saying they won't be addressed, and they will. But as I read off to you earlier, when I read the comparison, I don't know if you were watching, of the GM agreement in 2019 versus the 1999, COLA, pensions, insurance, no tiers, 8 hours premium pay, relief back to assembly plants, work opportunity. We don't have any of it anymore with the ship. It's all gone. And we had it all in 1999. Now, that's a plate in itself, a big plate.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't ever want to mislead you. I'm with you. I would like to see them come back. There's one thing you'll learn about a bargaining table. You can only have so many priorities.
Yep.
Because it ain't Christmas time and I ain't negotiating with Santa Claus. I'm negotiating with some unethical son of a bitches that hate us and don't want to give us a dime. You understand me?
Yep.
And that's, will it be a subject matter? It probably will be. I have to say to you, so you know, a lot of this stuff will be discussed at the collective bargaining convention. They set the rules, they set the demands, and we work from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're probably aware of how that works. So
I'm aware.
not,
They never listened to us.
well, the only thing I'm going to say is this, that there's an awful lot of work that's got to be done. And between you and I, one of the top priorities that I have to work on is we got to get some integrity back in this union and credibility. I'm not bashful to tell you no if I don't think I can do it. And I'm not bashful to tell you yes when I think I can do it. And I'll try to be as honest as I can with you. These other guys, they will promise you the whole frickin' world.
Give you nothing.
Like I told that one candidate that's running that he's wanted, I said he had a vote for me. I did all that in 1999. You got me, Glenn?
Yes, sir. We got you. Actually, we've got another question for you.
Okay, I lost my picture.
I'm here.
Can you see me?
Yes, sir. We can see you.
Okay, well, I'll see if it comes back, but I lost it. Go ahead.
All right. We have a question from Nora Reed off of Facebook. Her question is it true that Chicago Assembly Plant is closing its doors in 2028 and we will be transferred to either the stamping plant or to Tennessee? Please answer truthfully, because as a union family, we need to know this sooner than later. It cannot.
Well, tell her I can give her this. I can give her that answer if I'm elected president of the UAW.
Okay,
I can't give her that answer as a candidate because nobody's going to afford me that information. The day that I get elected president of UAW, if I'm honored with that and that privilege, then I'll be able to answer her question. I can't answer what's going to happen. Did she say 2028?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, well, our election is coming up shortly. Tell her I'd be able to give her an answer right after we find out where we stand in regards to the election. 2028, we're talking 6 years off. If I'm afforded an opportunity to be the president, I will personally meet with, is she's out, did you say she's out of Ford?
No, that's where it sounds like what her
Out of Chicago?
Chicago Assembly, yes.
Yeah, well, wherever it is or whatever car maker it is, tell her I can give her that answer and give her the full information on what their plans are.
Okay.
And first thing I'll find out is why they're anticipating or contemplating on closing it.
All right. And then we have a comment that people are getting transferred all over the country and they don't have a choice in moving. How can we stop this?
Okay, well, I'm kind of glad that question was asked. I blew my ass last week about something that is totally disgraceful. In the 1990 agreement that I had an opportunity to, we had, as you know, most big three workers, we had what we call the job security. And job security naturally meant that everybody got paid their full wages when they got laid off. And they did not have to go anywhere beyond 50 miles. That was the Chrysler agreement. And I personally was involved in that set of language. And the reason that is, and you got to understand why I made that language there, is that you cannot take a family and ship them 5, 6, 7, 800 miles away and leave their wife or children or vice versa. You can't do that. That is not what we're about. If the plant that they want you to go to and it's beyond 50 miles, they should fill a job with people laid off, and naturally they're not laid off. They wouldn't be S&M, but they should hire a person. Sub, we had sub, and then we went to job security, and then we give it all away. I'm going to use an example of a local union that is really getting me pissed off. The company, that is, not the local. 1268, Belvedere, Illinois. It's a Chrysler plant, and they're down to one shift, and they're running a small amount of volumes. And they got thousands of people laid off. And what this chicken shit company does is they start from the bottom and inverse on up, because the seniority people naturally don't want to leave. And they'll go through a whole slew of them. It might be a job in California, it might be a job in Denver, it might be a job in Washington or Oregon or whatever on the West Coast. To get one job, they might go through 40 people. And guess what they did to them 40 people that said no? They cut all their benefits off. They cut their health benefits off when they have a family, because they didn't pack up and leave their wife and 2 kids or no kids or 5 kids or whatever kids. Their wife could be pregnant. One of the kids could have a serious health issue, or their wives. This is totally disgusting. And I don't make a whole lot of commitments, but that won't be the way it is if I get a chance to get to the table.
Well, John,
We don't treat our people that way.
everybody on this call, I believe, hopes that you do get to the table. They can feel your fire and feel your spirit. That was the last question and comment. And that's actually a good one to end it on, John. You make some good points, and I'm hopeful that you make it all the way. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Everybody that took the time to tune in, thank you, both on Facebook and on Zoom. Things work out the way that we all hope. We'll be doing more of these. And we'll
Okay,
be
sounds
taking more
good.
questions.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. I hope the people that were listening, I hope you have an opportunity to go in the plant and tell the people exactly what I am about, and maybe some things that we plan on doing. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but we need you to make it happen. We have done everything we can on our side to try to make it happen. It's up to you now. So we really would appreciate you working hard for us. So with that, I'm going to say we need to start building on solidarity, because we have 3 different unions right now. We have a tier union, we have a traditional union, and we have a retirement union, and that's not solidarity. We're not here to divide. Our campaign is to unite, and that's what we're trying to do, and we need your help to do it. So with that, I'd like to close out by saying thank you for listening, and I appreciate all the help you can give us.
Thanks, John. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Okay.
Solidarity, brothers and sisters.